Hello there, thank you for coming for this video, and it's the first in a very infrequent series of where I give my thoughts and opinions on a particular subject. And these will range from lots of different ideas, and if you have any suggestions what you'd like to know my thoughts about, please either get in contact with me on my social networking sites, which is up there in the Berry Telly, or let me know in the comments down below. But to start off with, we're going to talk about whether cinemas, if they're doomed, or will they survive? Right, at time of recording, we are currently in lockdown, so the cinemas are currently closed, and that is going to have a big impact on whether they stay open or whether they will shut down completely. But for now, we're going to ignore the coronavirus outbreak and just talk about the cinemas in their general form. So we're going to start off with competition. What competition does cinemas or moviegoers or movie theatres, wherever you are in the world, what competition do they have at the moment? Well, mainly streaming services. I mean, you have, for example, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, or Now TV. I've just used those before because they're the four I personally subscribe to. But I do know there are hundreds out there. And the thing is, they have this brilliant thing where you have everything you want at a push of a button. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want, whether you're at home, whether it's on a computer, whether it's on your phone, sat on a bus. I mean, I've done that on my way to work, sat on a bus watching a TV series on Netflix. And yes, this is a major effect on cinemas because you don't need to go, especially when you've got all these films that some are new, some are old, but they're at your fingertips. You can sit at home, relax, and just chill out on your own and watch cinemas and films that way. But is it as good? Well, easy, yes, but is it as good as cinemas? That's up to you to decide. Personally, cinemas have this great thing. Also, one thing cinemas have over streaming services, you are forced to watch a film. Let's face it, we've all done it. I've done it. My partner does it quite a lot. We all do it where we're watching a film and it has that little bit of a long story, and we all just pick up our phones, just scroll through Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media you have. We all do it. But when you're at the cinema, you don't actually have that option to do it. Can't actually pick your phone up and say, oh, so-and-so's in a relationship. Oh, so-and-so's not going on holiday. Oh, that's a nice picture. We can't do any of that in the cinema, but you can at home. So that's one thing cinema has over streaming. But other than that, it's just the easiness of streaming services. That's what makes it unique for the streaming services. Another fact you have to take into account is the price of the cinema. Now, cinema prices are on a downward trend slightly. I mean, as of last year, as of 2019, you are looking around about £7.22 per person. That's still quite high, especially when you take into account an average family of 4 people. You are looking around about £30 just to see a film. And then you have to take into account all the drinks, the popcorn, the sweets. Because let's face it, we all do it. We know we shouldn't. We know that's where cinemas make their money from. But we all buy those treats, we all buy that popcorn. So you're looking around about £50. I mean, you can go out for a nice meal on £50 in a restaurant. Hell, me and my partner, we go out for a date night and we spend £50 on a 3-course meal in an Italian. It's great. Now, if you do look around, there are some cinemas where it's cheaper. I mean, I live in Portsmouth, and before, my son and I worked out it was cheaper, and we did this. It was cheaper to get on a bus and pay to go on a bus to go to Bognor Regis to watch Captain America: The Winter Soldier than it was to walk from my house to the cinema here in Portsmouth and watch it there. It was cheaper. That's including the bus fare. I mean, the cinema in question in Bognor Regis, it's £3.50. That's it. And there's lots of places, smaller independent cinemas around about that sort of price. And they do get packed out. They are quite busy, so they do actually make that money. But they are far and few between. You go to these megaplexes and you're looking around about £10, which is quite a lot of money. So, yeah, costing is another thing. Another thing you have to take into consideration, especially with what's been going on this year, is studios may start actually just releasing their big blockbuster action films straight to streaming services. If it gets to the audience faster and a bigger return, they may start looking at that avenue as well. It's happened this year. It happened with Trolls World Tour. Now, granted, there were circumstances why they did it that way, but it's now definitely an option. Whereas before, that option wasn't there. It always did the cinema, wait a year, DVD, wait a year, satellite TV, wait a year, terrestrial TV. That's how it always was. But now, especially in the day and age where everything is now, they want to get their products out to people quicker and faster. Right, so I've looked at some of the negative stuff, but what do cinemas have? What do cinemas have that other streaming platforms and other competitions have? Why should we go there? Well, firstly, the thing you have to look at is how old cinemas are. I mean, the first cinema as we know it today, even though it was called something else, was actually opened in Paris in 1892. Unfortunately, that did close in 1900. However, historians ignore that one because they only actually did animated films. They didn't do live action films. The first live action film cinema was actually opened in 1894 in New York City by Thomas Edison. But something that's been going around for that long isn't going to go away straight away. Especially as cinemas was supposed to take over stage shows and stage plays. And they've been around since, God knows, since the Middle Ages. Even before that, people go and see a show. And it's a natural evolution of that. But it's not going to go anywhere. The nostalgia is still there of going to a cinema, watching a film on that big screen. And that is something else cinemas have, is that big screen. No matter what you get at home, you are never going to get a big screen as big as they are in there. It's the size of like 4 houses put together. Now, I know you can get projection TVs at home where it takes up one wall, and that is big, but it's still not as big or as awesome as what you get in a cinema. Especially as in a cinema, especially cinemas have 4K, you can see every bit of detail from that film you are watching, which is something you cannot get at home. I know you have 4K TVs at home. I have a 4K TV, but it's that thing about having that big screen experience. The other thing is, what else can cinemas show? It's not just films they can show. Like I've said, cinemas actually moved on from having stage plays. But stage plays can be shown in cinemas. If you are into the theatre, but you can't make it to the West End, or like to see something from Broadway, or see something from Sydney Opera House, cinemas show these. And it's brilliant. It's actually fantastic to watch, still go out, and you still get that feeling of being in a theatre even though you're in a cinema. You're watching a theatrical play in a cinema. Sometimes they actually even do it live. So if they do make any mistakes, which they very rarely do in theatre, you'll see that there as well. But that brings us on to the last thing, is the atmosphere. That's something you cannot get at home. One of the best things about watching anything on a big screen TV is watching it with other people. A horror film, no matter how scary it is at home on your own, it's 1,000 times more scarier with thousands and hundreds of people go all at the same time watching a scary film. You can't get that at home. It's impossible. You will laugh with other people. You will gasp in awe at something that happens. You will cry when Tony Stark dies. You can't do that at home. You are at home on your own. You get more immersed with other people around you. And that's something nothing else can actually do. Now, another subject I want to do that cinemas do, but it's very borderline, is sporting events. You can actually watch sporting events. You can go and watch the FA Cup final. You can watch the motorsports, the rugby, the World Cup. Hell, some cinemas even showed WrestleMania as well. The problem with that is it's not as good. You don't want to be sat down for those sort of events. Granted, you can now have alcohol and drinks and booze watching these sporting events, but that sort of thing is a pub entertainment. That one I will say is a negative, even though they're trying, and 10 out of 10 for actually dipping their foot in. So do I think cinemas are due to close? Do I think they're going to end completely? Well, no, I don't. I think ultimately they will survive. It will be a bit of a struggle for them, but ultimately if they dig down, think outside the box, yes, they will survive. But let's get on with the elephant in the room. It's really uncertain times at the moment with the whole coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak, which currently has shut down the whole entertainment sector. But what happens when they reopen? Which they will reopen. but they're going to have social distancing. You have to keep more than 2 meters away from people. So that means a lot of these cinemas which have seats in there, they're going to have their capacity reduced by up to 75%. You need to tell, it's not every other seat, it's like one seat, miss two, one seat, miss two. But they're also going to have to take out the row in front. That's a big drop. That is a big thing to lose. You are going to be losing 75% of your income. No matter how we want to look at it, a cinema is still a business. Their goal is to make money. Now also, if not as many people are going to the cinema to see this and their revenues drop, studios will do what's best for them, what will make them the most money. It's already been tested now. They will go straight to streaming services if that's where they're going to make more money. Ultimately, I think they'd rather do cinema, people, but if eventually they're going to lose money, they will stop. So ultimately, the whole social distancing could eventually be the death of the cinema. Hopefully it all gets sorted. Hopefully we find a cure and cinemas will actually survive, because as somebody who enjoys films, I love going to the cinema. But that's my thoughts. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Have I missed anything? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to actually have discussions with anybody whether cinemas will survive or not. As I said, I hope it does, but what do you think? And if there's any other subjects you'd like to hear my theories about, please let me know and I'll get back in touch with you or maybe make one of these videos. But other than that, I will see you next time. Bye bye.